Hey guys, welcome to another Nioh video. This time I'm going to be showcasing my ninja build, or more importantly, it's a hybrid dex skill build, and it'll be using a little bit of Omnium magic. You know, it's very flexible in what you want to do. There's a couple things you can use in ninjutsu, and there's many things you can use in Onmyo. I mix it up a little bit. The main weapons I'll be focusing on are the Kusarigama and the dual swords. So let's take a look at the stats first. So I ended up with a level 130. I chose this level. It's an arbitrary level number. I chose this one because most people, when they finish a new game, they're either going to be around this range or they can easily get to level 130. After that, it's going to be a lot of you're going to need a lot of Amrita to level up. So if you look at my Amrita, I have like 465 million. Yeah, I was at level 240, so when I respec, I just didn't bother going past 130 just to showcase this build. So you want to focus on first is body, leave it at 15, because most armor that you wear or that might go with alongside with this build will require a body stat of like 12 to 15. You know, you can mix them up. So leave it at 15. You don't really need heart here, so I just left it at base level. Stamina, increased it to 10. So whatever armor set you may be able to wear will give you an agility of A. That's very important for this build because, you know, you're pretty much a glass cannon. So you don't want to get hit too much. In terms of strength, base stat, I didn't really bother with it. So skill, now this is interesting. So every time I increased, I left it at 50 first, but every time I increased skill past 50, it'll be like every other level or every 2 levels, my Kusarigama and my dual swords attack damage would increase by like 2 or 3, sometimes even 4. So I might, once I showcase this build to everyone, when I level up back to my original level, I might just like increase all this all the way to 99 just to see what it does. Same thing with dex. What's funny to note is when you do this with the sword build for the heart, after 50 it just goes by 1. So I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, dex, I left it at 50. I increased it to 51. I mean, you guys can do whatever you want. Magic, I left it at 10, so I can use a specific accessory, because I couldn't get, like, this build doesn't have all of the set items, so I used it's a Magatama, I'll explain it later, but I left it at 10 just so I can use that specific accessory, and also to get some Omnio capacity. In terms of spirit, I left it at 20. You guys can increase this to 25 if you want, if you're using different spirits. I left it at 20 because I'm using Itakuri. It's the spider that causes paralysis. It really goes well with this build. So you guys can increase it to 25 if you'd like, or more. Beyond that, it's really not necessary. So in terms of, yeah, Itakuri was my spirit animal. The reason I chose this one is because it's got luck, it's useful when you're farming stuff. And lastly, paralysis. This is very, very powerful. Like every 2-3 hits, you'll be, you know, causing paralysis on enemies. It works great against revenants too, so that's something to look forward to. Now, in terms of weapons, or in terms of the actual set, this is just an arbitrary sword. I don't even care what the sword is. It's just the highest I had. This is part of the Head of the Iga ninja set. I have 6 pieces on, but it says that I have 7. That's because of this, the Yasakani Magatama. It's a rare drop in the Trail of the Master mission. What you want to do is, as soon as you enter the mission, to the right there's a door that's locked. If you can get inside that door by climbing the rafters, there's a dead corpse there, and there's an item, like you can loot it. It has a random drop, a chance of dropping this Magatama. So what you want to do is open the try to loot it, and if you see it drop something else, go to the shrine quickly, reset it, and then come back. And every time the loot table changes, so you know, once you get this, I use it. I use it because it brings down the set bonus requirements down by 1, and I really needed this because I didn't want to use the sword for the set. Like, it's where's the sword? Yeah, see, it's the Oni Namida Muramasa sword, and I didn't want to use the sword for this set, so because I like the dual swords. And in terms of bow and gun, doesn't really matter. I went with the Iga Jonin set because it gives an ninjutsu damage bonus of A, so when I take a power pill or when I use kunai, shurikens, you know, it helps with all that stuff. Also close combat damage increases. And, you know, just, it's a really good set to use, and it's a light set too. I'm using the Edward Kelly Sin, so you can't really see the set. And yeah. On that, the accessories, it's just whatever I had the most on. Again, choose whatever suits your playstyle. Other than that, let's go on to what the equipment I use. Now, this is not all the equipment I have. I actually have more. It's just based on the level or the boss or the enemy type I'm be facing, I'll switch it around. That's where flexibility comes in within this build, because you have enough magic and you have enough ninjutsu to tackle almost everything that comes up against you. So kunai does more damage. Power, you know, couple that with this set, you'll be doing a lot of damage actually. Maki Bishi, these are basically caltrops. They're useful. Now, they work on most enemies, but sometimes, you know, they won't just come to you. They'll teleport to you, like the Great Toad. He'll just jump at you. So it won't work at that point. So you might want to use Sloth. I know most people don't like Sloth, but, you know, switch it up. Whatever works for you. I'm not showing a build where it's pure on skill. It's just to help people who are struggling with the game that can use this build and still, you know, be effective, can clear the game. That's pretty much it. I also use fire shurikens. They're really good. When you throw them and you want to just get away, it staggers enemies sometimes. It interrupts boss moves, so it's very useful. Poison, very, very effective when it combined with the Kusarigama, especially with low stance. You'll instantly apply poison. You can also switch your armor to whatever that gives you bonus for poison or gives bonus for paralysis. Like, there's a lot of armor sets. Just experiment with it. Another armor set that I would suggest you guys should use is the Justice Ministry armor, White Zukin set, because if you look, this is for dual swords, so the Moon Shadow that does more damage. You also have more living weapon duration. I mean, strong attack, heat. Like I said, guys, whatever suits your build, whatever suits your playstyle, use that. Power pill, very useful. Definitely goes with this build. Since you are a glass, this will make you a glass cannon. You will be doing a lot of damage. Couple that with the weakness talisman from Onmyo Magic. It lowers their enemy's defense. You'll be doing ridiculous damage with this. I use Life Seal a lot. This is just to reduce the enemy's ability to recover ki. Now, in terms of skills, let's focus on the weapons first. So, dual sword, you got, I basically reduce the amount of damage you take when you hit enemies. The quick draw, you know, the sign of the cross, you get those. Pretty much whatever suits your needs. I use this mid-stance a lot, the God of Wind. You know, you basically hit triangle at the right timing, and this, you can chain this on certain bosses to actually drain them of ki, and you can just stab them. It's really useful. Do not get Moon Shadow, actually. The reason I don't like Moon Shadow is sometimes when you're faced, say, the boss or enemies against a wall, and you accidentally hit the wall, you'll go around the, like, you know, you'll Moon Shadow around the wall, which makes no sense, because it's supposed to be on enemies. And this can get you killed, and it's got me killed many times, so when I respect, I didn't buy that. Other than that, get whatever is really useful here. I got the parry for mid stance, this one, because it's actually pretty useful. I'm not really good at it, but it's very useful. But don't worry, if you're not really good with the parrying, you know, this build will help you with when it comes to Kusarigama. Now, this is where the build really shines, because this is your damage dealing weapon. See, it increases the attack and the key damage for the sickle. You want to couple this with the blade spin. Now, what it does is when you're blocking, when you press square, it does this move where he just jumps out and he just hits them 3 times with this sickle. And this does ridiculous damage. Like, for the amount of key it uses, which is almost nothing, it actually does a lot of damage. And I'll be showing this a lot. So I also chose this one, the Summer Twilight. So basically you buff yourself and it gives you more damage. You can do more key damage and attack. So get that one. On that, everything else is pretty much standard. For high stance, I use the one that knocks down the enemy. Basically, you can bring them down and then you can finish them off. This also couples with increases damage to final blows by 4%. So, I mean, well, actually more than that. It starts with 10 and then 6 and then 4. So, yeah, you want to couple that up with the high stance. That way, this is the easiest way that I've used to deal with the revenants. Now, other than that, everything else is personal choice. I already showed you what I got in terms of the ninja stuff. I got concealment because I like to do more damage with thrown items. It's a personal choice. You can get the other one if you want, but I'm only going to be using power pills on myself, so it's not really useful. Here, I went with the duration just because I usually start the fight with magic, so and after that I just instantly finish. Like, I don't use it after I use it for the start. The start, it's just to get an advantage in the start, pretty much. And ever since they nerfed a lot of the timings of Omnio Magic, I went with this from now on. In terms of equipment items, let's take a look. So I have Life Seal, I have Weakness, I have Power Pill, Tiger Running Scroll if I'm doing, say, a quick mission, I just want to like speed run to the end. Poison, Keke Talisman, very useful when you're fighting yokai enemies, yokai bosses. Sloth in case Akabishi doesn't work, in case enemies teleport to you or fly. Sloth is a good alternative. Now, Blinding Shell, say you're fighting Hanzo or Okatsu or enemies that throw stuff a lot. Throw one of these, they'll always miss. This is the easiest way. You'll completely neuter them. Fire Shuriken, as I said before, Kunai, Shuriken, and that's pretty much it. Let's move on to bosses to actually show you how this build actually works. Alright, we'll go fight Tachibana first. See you in that fight.